Hey everyone, Jennifer Lee Chan here from NBC Sports Bay Area. Happy Sunday to everybody. And as promised, I am going to give you all the details on my origin story, how I got here, how I became the beat writer for NBC Sports Bay Area, covering the 49ers when I live in Los Angeles. Kind of crazy story. So, this is coming up on my 12th season covering the 49ers. And so if you trace that back to what teams were in Los Angeles, there weren't any. So my origin starts back way back when I was probably about 5 years old, and my dad loves football. My grandfather loves football, both my grandfathers actually. But I grew up in the state of Washington, and you could only watch whatever team was on the national broadcast. So while my family was all entirely 49ers fans. There's one uncle that was an Oakland Raiders fan, but generally, my whole family's from San Jose. My whole family's from all over the Bay Area, San Jose, Sacramento, San Francisco, mostly in San Jose. My whole family is based as 49ers fans. So my grandfather had season tickets for 60 years back at Kezar through Candlestick. I used to watch football with my dad when I was about 5 years old. In first grade, I could tell you every mascot at every team because I would watch football with my dad so often. Mind you, I'm one of two girls, and so I think my dad and my grandfather probably would have preferred to have boys to enjoy football with, but they got me. So I was, kind of indoctrinated into football love at a very young age. And then my grandfather had season tickets. So at Kezar, at Candlestick, and I grew up and I went to USC, came down to California. I grew up as an athlete. I was a coxswain of the rowing team at USC before there were scholarships. Um, so I worked out in the same facility. It was a varsity sport. It still is. I worked out in the same facility as the football players. So I got to know them and I got to really enjoy going to USC football games. And I think knowing the people behind the face mask makes a huge difference. It connects you. It's more personal. So you really rooted for the guys that you knew, that you hung out with in study hall and whatnot. So I became even deeper football fan than I was before. So now transition fast forward to the end of Candlestick. Now I used to go with my grandfather and my dad and my sister to games at Candlestick. Loved the 49ers, saw the pick of the stick, the end of the era at Candlestick. Lots of games. Probably didn't start really going to games consistently till probably about the year 2000, maybe 2001-ish. I followed 49ers football, of course, but really didn't get to see things like the catch or, Joe and Jerry. I kind of started getting to see games in person around the Jeff Garcia era. Um, it was, I loved going to games with my grandfather and my dad, just so much fun. And the thing about Candlestick that was so amazing that I don't know if you get it at Levi's because it's newer and I don't sit in the stands. So, I mean, you guys can tell me if you are a season ticket holder and what it's like at Levi's. But when my grandfather would go to games, because at the end, it was hard to kind of go up and down the stairs. There was that giant escalator that would take us up. Um, we had four tickets underneath the cover on about the 35-yard line. So we were on the home side. So he had those tickets for so many years. Every time he would go to a game, because he couldn't go to all of them, but he tried to go to a lot. And he definitely went to the last game at Candlestick. People would come by and say hello and like, good to see you. The Nunleys sat in front of us. The people around us were the same people every year. And it was like this community. And as the time kind of came to its close at Candlestick, the offer to my grandfather was a ton of money for comparable seats at Levi's. And what's funny is Levi's is, I don't know, 10 minutes from his house. He lived in San Jose. And as much as he wanted to be a fan of the 49ers still, the price was not unaffordable, but he felt like it was ridiculous. Old school. At the time when they moved, he was about 90 years old and he was not going to pay the seat licensing fee, which was a ton of money per seat, probably about 35 to $40,000 a seat. And it wasn't even about the price, it was about the loyalty. And my grandfather was super old school. And he was like, there is no way I'm giving them another dime. Why don't they understand? And, it's that kind of cross between old school philosophy and the new school way of doing things in the NFL. These new stadiums cost a ton of money. And they need those seat licensing fees to pay for it and to keep it up and to maintain it. And it's just part of the business model now. So I wanted to go to 49ers games still. I wanted to go to football games still. I did not miss a home football game when I was at USC, not one. I went to a ton of away games too. So, as a huge football fan, I needed to figure out a way that I could still go to games and not have to give the 49ers any money because my grandfather would have disowned me. So, I was kind of scouring the internet and I found a website that was at the time, I think it was called NFL Female, 32 women, each one of us covering a different team. I would do a game preview and a game recap every week for free. 150, 200, sometimes 300 words. What I thought and what it was about. And I went to a sportscaster workshop kind of around the same time. Um, Actually, no, not yet. As I started to do that, I found that players during the off season did camps. And so Pro Camps is a company that I kind of latched onto and went to so many other camps and promoted on social media back when social media was kind of just in its fledgling state. But I went to Patrick Willis's pro camps, 300 kids. And Patrick Willis made sure to go to each grouping of kids, have contact with them, teach them some drills. And then I kind of went on the pro camp schedule and went to all of the camps that I could get to. I went to Philip Rivers camps. I went to Navarro Bowman's camp. I went to Reggie Bush's camp. I went to any camp I could go to get contact and build relationships with players. And by the time I was about at my third pro camp, the people there are like, just stay as long as you want. Do whatever you want. Like walk around, just be respectful of the kids and their space and whoever the player was. And so I would follow Colin Kaepernick around. I went to his camp twice. But because it was the off season and it was camps and it was, charity events, players are more relaxed during that time. I always say if you want to start getting into the business, start during the off season. You are not going to get let into a press box week one. A lot of times, organizations will give you kind of like a little test out during training camp to see how you act with the other beat writers that are there. So I started getting content. I would talk to like Patrick Willis. I would go to his camp. I went to Navarro Bowman's camp. Getting to talk to the players when it's a relaxed state during the off season, I would get different content. I would watch how they interacted with children. A lot of times, pro camps would do a little luncheon where kids would ask the questions of what the players like. Who's your best friend on the team? What do you do during your off time? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite video game? So those kind of fun types of things. I mean, not the nitty gritty stuff of the football season, regular season, but the off season stuff. I started posting on NinersNation.com, the SB Nation site for the 49ers, along with the NFL Female. And then because they saw that I was getting this content from one-on-one interactions with players that was exclusive because generally during the off season, normal beat writers don't have the option to like go to a camp and spend the entire day there. And honestly, pro camps would have a 15-minute media session with a bunch of cameras and local TV stations. Like I remember Philip Rivers had one where it was 15 minutes backdrop of the Chargers back with pro camps, and all the local news stations would ask him about, what it means for him to be out there with a bunch of kids and what his plans for the future were. But because I had built this relationship with pro camps, they would let me hang out for the entire camp instead of kicking me off the field. So with that added access and added content, I went to SB Nation and worked at SB Nation for, gosh, a ton of like at least 4 years. Yeah, 4 years. So probably 2015, 16, 17, 18, 4 years. So 3.5, 4 years, I was with SB Nation. I would write blogs. And now the 49ers are interesting because I don't know if they still do it now, but blogs can be credentialed. Now that doesn't happen all the time. There are a lot of organizations that do not credential blogs at all, even if it's SB Nation, even if it's like a giant one. They just don't do it. They're kind of old school. They want newspapers, and I know it's kind of outdated, but the guys who have been newspaper writers, that type of thing, that's who they credential. So I kind of parlayed that into getting credentialed with the 49ers. And it happened, slowly. I was at training camp and they saw how I acted. And because I acted in a respectful, professional manner, kind of, and I came into the business like just watching. Watch and listen is my big suggestion when you go into a new job for anything. I met Cam Inman, I met Matt Maiocco, I met Matt Barrows, Bay Area sports guy, and just kind of watched and listened and paid attention to what they asked in questions and press conferences, what they did. And so with that, I started writing more frequently for SB Nation. Now I would write every day, and starting from getting $100 a month kind of stipend, it grew because I started to do more and more. Started to do videos. So I would do a little tripod with my phone, and we all still do that. Tripod phone or Zoom, and back then it was not Zoom, but it was tripod phone, record like a 90-second hit, send it into SB Nation, and they would post it up on the website. So my responsibilities got more and more and more, higher and higher, and I was traveling to games, um, and trying to get as much content and get kind of like watch everybody. I mean, Matt Maiocco has been one of my most favorite mentors of all time. He's just so open and helpful and giving in regards to how to approach a story, how to approach a challenging subject matter. I mean, even to this day, he is by far the best teacher. But there's been several along the way. Cam Inman has been great. I mean, both Matt and Cam are amazingly fast at how quickly they can put together a 300 to 400 word story on whatever the breaking news is. Not that fast yet. But at the time, this whole thing that has gone down, there's still no team in Los Angeles. So I found a way to get myself to San Jose, commuting back and forth and going to the games. So in 2018, NBC Sports Bay Area told Matt, hey, we're looking for somebody to help you out because now we're not just doing stories post game throughout the week. Now the job is turned into an every aspect of the media. That's what we have to do now, from podcasts to pre-game hits to post-game hits to writing stories to interviewing. I mean, all of it. It's kind of, you have to be able to do everything. And my suggestion, if you're interested in doing this for any particular team, any sport, build your own website, build your social media following, practice and do videos, practice and write stories, and try to have a unique take as much as possible because yes, there are those stories when Robert Saleh comes back and he becomes the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. Everybody has the same story. We all have the same quotes. But it's when you try to find those little stories, those little tidbits that are different from everybody else, that's when you start to stand out. But um, that has kind of grown into, at first, I was just writing with NBC Sports and doing, weekly, a story every day of the week. And now it's maybe one or two stories during the season, in season, or during training camp. It's two or three stories a day. It's during training camp, it's local news hits. It is SNC hits for the local news because we are partnered with NBC up in the Bay Area news. And so we do those pre-game hits, post-game hits, and it just keeps us all very busy. So that's kind of my origin story. Here I am in 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, my seventh year with NBC Sports. And hopefully, I'll continue and be bringing you all the news from the 49ers locker room and beyond. Excuse me. I find that the most um, beneficial part of the job. I mean, I love telling stories. I love telling the stories of the players that you don't necessarily get to see pre-game, post-game from everybody else. I like to kind of be able to tell the stories that not everybody hears. Obviously, one of my favorite stories is Travis Ward and how he started playing so much better when his daughter, who, you know, rest in peace, passed recently. But the fact that his relationship with her changed how he played on the field. And again, it changed how he played on the field in 2024, much more challenging with her health challenges. So I just feel like the players are so much more than what's on the field, behind, inside the helmet, inside the uniform, inside the pads. What is a player? It's not just who they are on the field. There's so much more to everyone because we're all human. So those human interest stories are what I try to focus on. I am, yes, I do know some X's and O's, but I'm not a big X and O person. I'm about telling the stories. Yes, I can tell when someone misses something on the field or when there's an amazing blocked play where that run goes for 40 yards. And, those are fun to cover. But for me, the human interest stories are what compels me the most. So, heading into my 12th season covering the Niners, and yeah, there are two teams in Los Angeles now, but I'm kind of embedded where I'm at. So I think I'll be hopefully covering the Niners for some time. Anyways, that's the origin story, and I'll leave you with that on this beautiful Sunday. Hope everybody's well. And I dropped a video of Jerry Rice in Philadelphia, just in honor of, Philadelphia. It was 2023 when he put on all of his rings and was in front of the crowd. So if you want to see any more of that, whatever I have in my photo album, I will be happy to share it with you. Drop a comment, drop a like, please subscribe, and we'll get back to the news when it is Monday. Franchise tags can be given on Tuesday, so stay tuned for that. And we'll have more 49ers news coming up at you soon. I'm going to start studying for the combine, which is in a week. I'll be leaving in a week. So there you go. All right, everybody. Hope you're well, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye.